Welcome YouTube, ZeroMagnumX here. This is another Avacyn Restored preview. First card we have is Revenge of the Hunted. It's a 6-drop miracle card, but its miracle cost is 1. I'm not entirely sure if it'll see play, but it might find a home. It's not too bad because it's 6, and in things like Ramp, they don't have a whole lot of pure green spells to play outside of Green Sun Zenith currently, and it might see some relevance in there. I mean, you can turn your 6/6 Worm Coil or Primeval Titan into a 12/12 and possibly board wipe through green for a potential 1 miracle. I don't know how much it's going to be played in red-green aggro, and I don't know how much it's going to be played in cards for Ramp, but you never know. It might find a home in there. Okay, the next one is Emancipation Angel. It's an uncommon, and it's a slower version of Restoration Angel, and I think it'll be a pre-release promo, and it's not a bad basic vanilla. Whenever it enters the battlefield tapped, you return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. So you can reset a land for the turn if you didn't play it or other such things. So it's a half and half card. I think it can be really good, or I can think it can be pretty mediocre. It just depends. Beautiful artwork, by the way. The next is a pretty terrible card. Sorry if you guys don't like it, but it's there. Exile 2 target artifact creatures and or lands you control, then return to the battlefield under your control. It's a super blink, and it may find a home in a silly deck, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's that good, but I've been wrong before. Okay, next one is the super sexy angel of the format, and I absolutely love her being blue-white. I don't think she's gonna find a real amazing home in Standard, but I think she is amazing for stuff like EDH and Commander. She makes me want to build a blue-white deck based around her with lots of fun, auras and stuff like that, just to enchant her and make her like super big and game winning. It's just something for fun, because that's what I take EDH as. I don't think EDH Commander should be like, oh my gosh, it's so pro because we gotta do a 100 card deck and make it so there's a lot of competitiveness in it. I take EDH what it is. I think it's fun. And I think she'd make a great general, or at least a great card tech. Anyway, we'll go over her effect. She's got Flying and Vigilance, which is always a favorite of mine. I won't lie, I love Vigilance in the game. Whenever it attacks or blocks, you may attach to it any number of permanent or auras on the battlefield and in the graveyard and from your hand, I think. Yeah, attach it any number on the battlefield, and you may attach any from the graveyard. So any auras you already have out on the field, go straight on her. That's number 1. Number 2, if they've killed your stuff off and it's all gone to the graveyard, they go on to her. If they're in your hand and you've got like some crazy 5 or 6 drop aura, I don't believe they exist, but if they do, hey, they do. It goes on her. It's pretty awesome. I won't lie. For EDH, she's fun. Okay, the next up is our first Planeswalker. Okay, this card isn't that impressive for Standard right now. It might see play in some blue-white decks using Gideon, like everything attacks Gideon. You have this out, you draw cards. It's a neat combo card in that sense. It might be a Sphinx replacement, I'm not sure. But her most amazing thing about it is that not only is she like a mix of Frost Titan and, Sphinx, but she's also really good for EDH decks because of her -8. If you can manage somehow to get her up on the clock and protect her and make her really good, you're going to be able to play cards like Rewind consistently. You play Rewind, it goes back to your hand, you untap your mana. it's basically counter everything at that point, and I don't think you can lose. Unless they've got a counter for rewind. I mean, obviously. But, you know, counter spells don't see a lot of commander EDH play. As well, when you're playing a singleton card deck, she can be really good because she can give you your stuff back. So, I think she's going to be really good in EDH, but we'll see what happens. It depends on the deck, and it depends on what's part of it, you know? I mean, you never know. I think she's pretty good, but people beg to differ. Okay, this one's a letdown. Harvester of Souls, Death Touch. He's a 6/5/5. When a non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. In all honesty, I think they should have just let it to where if a creature dies, you can draw a card. A non-token card, I don't think it's that good. I think for a 6-drop it could have been better. That's my opinion. Especially since, you know, Great Titan exists. So it's pretty mediocre. This is the big one of the set. So far, one of my favorites. And this is coming from the blue, white, and black player, Esper, or mostly blue-white. And this is a red card I can say that I'm happy about. It's probably the best card that we've had in a long time since Goblin Guide for red players. And I have to say it's really neat. It's a better Furnace Scamp and a mediocre Goblin Guide. I know that sounds weird, but basically it fits a theme. You either get a 4/3 creature or it burns for 4. I mean, I can't really, you know, deny how good that is, because it's what red wants. I think timely reinforcements being in the game shuts down RDW too much, but on the flip side of this, I think green aggro decks are going to love this card. It's a 4/3 creature for 1, and as it enters the battlefield, your opponent may have it so it deals 4 damage to them, and if they say, okay, it deals me 4 damage, then Vexing Devil is sacrificed. I don't know if I went over Angel's Tomb. I don't believe I did, but it's a vanilla card. Basically, this is Tempered Steel's new toy, kind of. It doesn't have its own activation, and it relies on you playing a creature. It doesn't have its own activation cost, so it's not good on its own. So that reliance makes it a little subpar, but you can make it a 3/3 white angel. So it's up and down. It's not a bad uncommon. It fits the uncommon pretty good. Okay. Say hi to an amazing EDH general. Any one of you guys, like me, who always thought red-white was a cool combo, here you go. It's a 7-drop for a general flying first strike, and anytime that you would throw like a permanent damage to an opponent, yeah, if a source would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage and to that player or permanent. So your angel here, I'm pretty sure counts as a source for damage, attacks for 5. So it deals 10. In EDH commander rolls, you've got to land 21 points. That's pretty easy with her. I mean, give her a sword, give her an equip, and then you win. I mean, she's really good. And any damage, if a source would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, you have that damage rounded up. Not down, guys, up. So if it's like, oh, this is going to do you 11 damage, you prevent 6 of it. Pretty good. It might see standard play for Reanimator, but I don't think it'll see anything beyond that. But I think it's a pretty neat card, and I think it's really great for Commander. This was a subpar card, this next one, because it's 2/1. It has Soul Bond, it pairs up, and then whenever they attack and deal damage, you draw. It's nice if you put it on an angel or something and you keep them alive, but in a format where Tragic Slip exists, I don't think it's too viable. It should have been like a 1/3, and I would have been happy with it. This is so far, I think, one of the best limited cards we've had in a while. This is Nightshade Peddler. It's subpar for other things like Standard and so on, but in sealed formats, I think it's really, really good, because whenever you keep pairing it up with another card, you can keep chump blocking with Death Touchers. So whenever it pairs up, it and then something else is Death Touch. So whenever your guy dies, it chills out on the field, you play another one, it dies, and so on and repeat. So it's really good for draft, but I don't think it's going to be really, really good for anything else. Okay, you guys saw Moonsilver Spear before. Okay, I don't think I went over this one, and if I did, I deeply apologize. This is Arcane Melee. Instant and sorcery spells cost 2 less to cast. That includes yours and your opponent, so it's a little subpar. It may find a home in some old legacy decks, but I don't know anything beyond that. Okay, I went over Killing Wave, Angel Jubilations, Restoration. Apologies for switching through these, but a lot of these cards got jumbled up. Like there's packs and stuff that are in the way. There's Avacyn herself, Behemoth, Reciprocity. This is stuff that was in the last video, in case you didn't catch it, and I spoke about them. Okay, I think we're on the new ones. Yeah, Cloud Shift here is pretty interesting. Exile target creature you control and return to the battlefield under your control. So it blanks, which isn't bad. For a common, that's actually pretty good. It's better than Save and Grasp, which returns it back to your hand. So it's good for dodge removal. Okay, then we have Howlgeist. Creatures with power less than it can't block. It's a 4/2 with Undying for 5. Or, sorry, 6. It's a little under par. Joint Assault. I think I went over that one. Basically, 2 of your paired creatures get +2. +2. Yeah, I went over Wingcrafter. I believe I went over her. She's pretty good. You can read her. Yeah, I went over Demon Lord. There's some mats and stuff. Okay, I don't think I went over this one. Descendants Path. Okay, at the beginning of your upkeep, you can reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature that shares the type of creatures among that you control, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, you put it in the bottom. It's interesting because it's really cool. I can see green-white humans taking off and running 4 of these in their deck. It can conflict with Thalia, but I mean, outside of that, it's pretty awesome. I mean, you don't have to cast Thalia. That's the good thing about it. You can choose Thalia to go to the bottom. I think it's pretty cool, and I think it really would benefit green-white humans. I can see green-white taking off post-rotations. Like, incredibly so, especially with this card. And if elves are printed, watch out, guys. Okay, Herald of War, I like him for flavor. I don't know if I like him outside of that, but the thing is he could be really, really interesting. Remember what I was saying just about green-white humans? He might be one of the headliners, the bomb. Whenever he swings, you put a 1/1 counter on it, so he automatically gives himself bigger. I haven't seen this since the Siths, I think, or Sliths, whatever they were. I did not see a growing card like this in such a long time. That just attacks and grows, attacks and grows. And then, on top of that, your human and angel spells cost 1 less whenever he has counters on him for each counter. That's pretty sweet. I have to say, he's probably the best intro packer. I like, or she, whatever it is. I like it a lot, and I hope it sees play. Desolate Lighthouse is kind of subpar, I won't lie. You have to run... I can see going Frights. That's about it. I think Frights are neat, but that's really all. Yeah. It's 1 blue and red, and draw a card and discard a card. Stonewright was a disappointment, too. He has Soul Bond. And again, I'm sorry if this video is long. It's probably going to go to like 10-15 minutes, and I'm sorry. Or I'm past that and I don't know. I'm not timing it. Okay, anyway. When he's paired with another one, they get Fire Breathing. Which means tap red, and then they get +1/+1 until end of turn. Again, I'm not too impressed with that. I would much rather see First Strike on them. That would make him really relevant, I think. Cathar's Crusade. Okay, this is the fun card. And by that, I mean we're probably not going to see Honor of the Pure, and that's going to make me sad. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. or sorry, it is on each creature you control. So whenever it enters a battlefield, like your creature, I'm pretty sure that creature is included. So it's like Leaning Souls, 2 creatures enter the battlefield, that they end up being like, I think they enter at the same time. So they might end up actually becoming 3/3s. I gotta double check that, but it's pretty good, but it's pretty costly, as you can see at the mana cost there. It might see a place in green-white. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, Bonfire of the Damned. I don't know. It seems like a subpar Fireball to me. I think I'd just rather use Fireball. I mean, Miracle's cool, but Fireball exists, guys, and it's just better. I mean, I get it. I get why this card would be useful, because you double pay the costs, alright, or the Miracle's really, really good, but it is not worth the rarity it is. So, which I believe it's a mythic, or it looks like it. I don't think it's worth that much. I mean, yeah, it hits both creatures and life, but it still could be better. I mean, you gotta pay at least 3 to deal 1 damage to them and all their creatures that they control. So, it's alright, but it's not great. Okay, here's the other Planeswalker. This guy has gotten mixed reviews. He's 50-50. I don't think he's that good. I would have hoped for a first 2-drop walker that he wouldn't be in shock range to kill. So that's disappointing. And his +1 is to discard at random, so he's a Desperate Raven's Living in a sense, and he's got a -4 and -6. His -6 is pretty good, and that I could see him being worthwhile, but I don't think his -4 is that playable. It is to the extent of where it burns for 5 or 6, but to -4 him, I think I'd rather just go to the ultimate, because gain control of all creatures until end of turn, on top of they gain haste. I think I'd rather go for a win like that. Overall, I think he's pretty subpar. Okay, this one's another disappointment, but I'll go over it. When it enters the battlefield, you control another creature, untap it, it gets haste, and then, permanent, and you can swing. I can only see this being a counter to Gideon, in all honesty, and that's a really, really narrow path. I mean, it's cool that it can take Planeswalkers and maybe a land, but if it had a reoccurring ability and wasn't 3/3, I think it'd be much better. Okay, this is probably my favorite new card spoiled. New card. Well, this and another one. We'll get to the other one soon. It's Champion of the Parish on steroids. I think she is one of the most amazing cards for Limited and Sealed. Keep that in mind. I don't think she's going to be that great outside of that. She might find a place in red-green aggro or green-white humans, but her 1/1 sets her back. I think she should have been at 2/2 to dodge things like Tragic Slip. And I know I keep saying Harpin, Tragic Slip, but guys, it's really relevant. I mean, and she costs 3, so she misses the bar by being a 1/1 with Tragic Slip and being a 3-drop for counter spells, like Delver is using in blue-white humans and stuff like that. So, and Vapor Snag. I mean, Snag handles a lot of threats, but I don't know. I'm half and half on her. Let me know what you guys think of her actually in particular. I think she's really neat, and I hope she sees plays, but I don't know. She's like Champion of the Parish, but she's got the thing of saying you can't block me if you're smaller. So she could be potentially mean. Okay. This is my favorite spoiled so far. It is hilarious, it is uncommon, and it is like on the other side of despise. Or sorry, Inquisition of Kozliak. My bad. This one's pretty good to wipe out a bomb in their hand, which is the neat part about it. But on the flip side of that, you can play this late game and it's not a loss. I mean, if nothing else, it costs 1 black, and if it's late game, you can get rid of late game threats, you can see their hand. It has a lot of potential use. I think I love the flavor text. It's Appetite for Brains, guys. Check it out. Okay, here's another one, the Smuggler. It's 1/1 for 4. You can blink. So I think it's kind of dumb. I think I'd rather use Cloud Shift. Gold Knight Redeemer is a 6 for a 4/4 drop, and you gain 2 life for each creature you control. I think it's trying to really replace Avacyn. Maybe Nyapod I'd be okay in. 2 life is nice for each creature, but I don't know. I think it's lesser format good. Wolfir Silverheart. This was kind of impressive, kind of not. I'm in between with it. I think this is one of the starter intro pack cards. So it's, how to put it, I think it's like Tangleroot Worm or something, I can't remember. Or it's like the worm that has Morbid that comes in as an 8/8. So whenever this pairs up with another creature, they both get +4/+4. People might be calling me crazy for saying this, but I can see this having a spot in something like Red Green Aggro, just because of the mana ramp. And this can sit out on the field. One of your other guys can die. Like, for example, imagine this out with something like, I don't know, Stranglergeist. Stranglergeist is all of a sudden getting +4/+4. So I think it can see play. I think it's actually pretty playable, and I think it's the wild card. I just think people aren't going to see it. Reforged Soul is probably my favorite Miracle card actually so far. And I have to say, probably the best. The reason I say this is because it says each player discards his or her hand and draws 7. It costs only 5, or it's a miracle for 2. Basically, there's no card called Wheel of Fortune that this is for. This is definitely geared for Standard. And then the last one that I believe is the first one, which is Revenge of the Hunted. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the spoiler list. Sorry the video was long, and peace YouTube.